I spent nearly 10 years saving every dollar, every cent, through exhausting overtime shifts and weekends without rest. And yet, in less than a minute, it was all gone, without a trace. I wasn't robbed, nor was I scammed by a stranger. The culprit was the person I once trusted most. And worse? She left a note so fake it suggested I should be grateful that she was starting a new life. My name is Aria. I'm 32 years old, living in Seattle, working as a senior accountant at a logistics company. A job so demanding, I rarely have time to lift my head from spreadsheets. That morning was just like any other, until my phone buzzed with a notification from the bank. Unusual activity detected on your account. Please confirm. At first, I just glanced at it, assuming it was a system error or someone had sent it by mistake. But a strange gut feeling made me pause. I opened the banking app, typed in the verification code, and then I froze. Checking account balance, $7.13. Savings account, $0.00. I blinked several times, palms starting to sweat. Every penny I had saved, over $84,000, vanished overnight. No warning, no alert. I immediately called the bank. A calm middle-aged woman answered the phone. "Hello, how may I assist you?" "I just discovered my savings account was emptied. I didn't authorize that transaction." She asked me to verify my identity, then spoke more slowly and carefully. "The transaction was made through online banking at 3:42 this morning. And the person who made it is the co-owner on the account." It felt like being punched in the chest. Co-owner? There was only one person ever linked to that account. My mother. Back when I was in college and needed her to help verify finances to open it. Later, I tried several times to remove her access. But every time I hesitated. She was my mother after all. No. It couldn't be, not her. No way. I forced myself to stay calm and asked, "Where was the money transferred?" "I was sent to an international account. We confirmed it was deposited into a bank in Portugal." I dropped the phone. It felt like something inside me snapped, not because of the money, but because of the cruel truth unraveling before me. I stormed out of the office, not even sure what I told my manager. I drove home, to the small apartment I bought 2 years ago after years of scrimping. I needed to be sure. I needed proof for what my logic already knew, but my heart refused to accept. My mother's apartment was about 15 minutes away by car. She moved to Seattle from Florida 3 years ago after her second divorce, and I helped her settle everything, from housing to applying for assistance. She said she wanted a fresh start. I believed her. I even helped pay off her credit card debt. I used the spare key to open her apartment. The one she insisted I have, for emergencies. Inside was quiet. Everything was in place, the fridge was empty. Only a letter sat on the kitchen counter, folded neatly, my name written in her familiar cursive. I opened it. "Dearest Aria, I'm sorry for leaving like this. I need a new opportunity, a new life, and sometimes that means letting go of the old. Please forgive me. One day, you'll understand. Love. Mom." I crushed the paper in my fist, lips trembling with anger, pain, and disgust. A new life? What about me? What about the years I worked myself to the bone, gave up vacations, dreams, only to be betrayed by the woman who gave birth to me? I collapsed onto the floor, back pressed against the cold fridge. I hadn't even processed it all when my phone buzzed again. An email. From HR? Confirmation: Aria Morgan is on an unpaid personal leave, request from. The verified email address. I jumped up. That email? I didn't send that. I never requested any leave. And only one person knew enough of my personal and work details to fake it. She didn't just take my money. She wanted to erase me completely. No one would look for me. No one would ask. I looked around the kitchen where I once cooked for her. once argued over trivial things. Now, it was just a shell. Just like her. No, I couldn't let this be the ending. I took a deep breath, stood up, grabbed my phone, and headed back to the car. I didn't know what I would do next. But one thing was certain. She thought she had won. But the game had only just begun. I got back to my apartment just as the Seattle sky faded into evening. The dim light outside mirrored the emptiness inside me. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't need them to realize I had just been completely robbed by my own mother. Not just financially, but of the final shred of trust I had left. I sank onto the living room floor, surrounded by scattered work papers and a half-eaten box of cold pizza. My mind kept replaying the line from her note, "I need a new life." Every time I read it again, I felt more sickened. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it indifferently, expecting another email faked by her. But no. It was an unfamiliar number from Arizona. "Hello?" I answered, my voice hoarse. "Aria Morgan, this is Stephen Kane, attorney for Mrs. Dolores Whitman, your grandmother. I regret to inform you that she passed away this morning. Would you be able to travel to Tucson in the next few days?" My entire body froze, like being thrown into a freezer. No. No, that can't be. I stammered. I just FaceTimed with her last week. She was fine. She told me her orchids were blooming. It was a sudden heart attack. Emergency services couldn't save her. I couldn't respond. The air had been sucked out of the room. I leaned my head against the wall, closed my eyes, trying to stay composed, but the tears came anyway. Uncontrollable. Unforgiving. Dolores Whitman wasn't just my grandmother. She was the only one who never abandoned me. No matter how many times my mother broke promises. No matter how many nights I was left waiting outside school until 10 p.m. because she forgot. It was Grandma who always showed up. Never angry, never complaining. She was the one who secretly paid my college tuition after my mother pulled her support at the last second. She bought me my first interview suit. She was the only one who ever looked my mother in the eye and said, "Stop using that girl like a walking wallet." And now she was gone too. "Aria, I know this is a lot to take in," Mr. Kane said gently, "but your grandmother left a will, and you've been named the sole heir. We need you here to finalize some matters." I couldn't hear anything else, my ears were ringing. All I felt was the sensation of falling, with no end in sight. "My dear, make sure you eat properly. I have a strange feeling like something is about to happen. But don't worry, I've prepared everything for you. No matter what happens, remember, you deserve a better life." I broke down crying like a child. Not because of the money, not because of the betrayal, but because the last person who ever stood by me was gone forever. The next morning, I sat in the kitchen, stunned, clutching a cup of coffee gone cold, my eyes fixed on an email from the airline confirming my flight to Tucson. I would fly out that evening. Another notification popped up. New transaction alert from my bank account. I opened it. A new withdrawal from a dependent credit card I'd forgotten my mother still had. This time, a charge in Lisbon, Portugal. A 4-star hotel. 1-week reservation. I gripped my phone and through clenched teeth, hissed. Usasemi snorted. "Even while I'm planning the funeral of the only person who truly loved me?" I stayed frozen for a few minutes. Then slowly stood up. Yes, I had to fly to Tucson. But after that? That would be a different journey. Not for revenge, but to reclaim what was rightfully mine. And she wouldn't see it coming. Because she forgot one very important thing. Dolores Whitman was never the kind to leave empty-handed. And if my grandmother left me anything, I would use it to end this game for good. I arrived in Tucson on a gloomy afternoon, the sky streaked with gray clouds that mirrored my mood. Attorney Stephen Kane's office was in a red brick building, not far from the cemetery where my grandmother had just been laid to rest. I had laid flowers at her grave earlier that morning, a bouquet of pale blue hydrangeas, her favorite. I didn't cry. I had no more tears left to shed. Stephen met me at the door, a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair, dressed simply but neatly. He shook my hand, his eyes reflecting genuine sympathy, not the cheap pity I'd become all too familiar with. "Boji. Arya, thank you for coming. I know this isn't an easy time for you." "It's fine," I replied, flatly. "I need to know what my grandmother left. And what she wanted from me." We stepped into a small conference room, where a stack of documents, a few cups of coffee, and a thick, cream-colored envelope sat neatly in front of me. Stephen took a seat across from me, opening the folder before him. Dolores Whitman was a woman of great foresight, Arya. She prepared for this day 3 years ago. The will was last updated 8 months ago. I nodded slightly, my chest heavy. "You are the sole beneficiary," he said, short and sharp as a blade. "All assets, shares, real estate, investments, everything, is in your name as of her passing." I was stunned. "I'm sorry, could you clarify? Everything means—" He nodded, sliding the file toward me. "The Blue Horizon boutique hotel chain, currently valued at $11.8 million. 3 plots of land in Arizona and New Mexico, worth about $3 million. A mixed investment portfolio, nearly $1.4 million. In addition, a liquid account with approximately $620,000. And a collection of antique jewelry I believe you've seen before." I gripped the armrests of my chair. My mouth had gone dry. "I didn't know she had so much." Doradas was discreet, but very intentional, and you should also know she was especially firm when it came to your mother. "Miss Gloria Morgan." My chest tightened at that name. Bakchi. What did my grandmother say? Stephen opened a handwritten note attached to the will. He read every word, clearly. "I, Dolores Whitman, deliberately and with full awareness exclude my daughter Gloria Morgan from any inheritance, because I believe she has spent her life abusing the trust of others. She has had more than enough, from me and from others. She deserves not a single cent more." I clenched my hands under the table. My grandmother really wrote that? In her handwriting, then signed. There's also a video verification. I exhaled deeply. My emotions were a tangle of shock and sadness. I had always known my grandmother saw through my mother's facade, but reading those words still pierced my heart. Stephen slid the envelope toward me. "This. She asked me to hand to you personally. It's her personal journal, some pages marked. And a final letter." I opened the envelope. Inside was a worn leather-bound book with gilded edges, heavy, and carrying the scent of old paper. I didn't open it immediately. My hands were still trembling. "Full question, Stephen," I looked up. "Does my mother know about any of this yet?" "It?" He hesitated. "I received 3 calls from an unknown number over the last 2 days. The woman identified herself as Gloria Morgan, demanding her rightful share and threatening legal action if excluded from the will. I recorded all of it." I scoffed. The sound cold as metal scraping over ice. "She's in Lisbon, living off my money. And she's still not letting go." Stephen looked at me with weighted eyes. "Arya, your grandmother left you more than wealth. This isn't just an inheritance. It's an opportunity. You could stay silent, live in comfort, sever all ties. Or I could give my mother a taste of what she's spent her life dealing out. Consequences." He said nothing more. I stood, journal and documents in hand, thanked him, and walked out of the office. On the way back to the hotel, I opened the journal. A page was marked with red ribbon. I flipped to it. "Dearest Arya, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. But I've watched you grow into a strong, kind, and unwavering woman. Traits your mother tried to extinguish. I didn't leave you wealth. I left you freedom. Freedom from manipulation, from the burdens your mother always placed on you. But remember, Don't let anger rule you. A snake is most dangerous when it thinks it's winning. Don't sever the tie too soon. Let her walk into the trap she built herself. I closed the journal, hands clenched. I knew exactly what I needed to do. And this time, I would be the one leading the way. I sat in the lounge of the small hotel in Tucson. My grandmother's journal laid open in front of me. The page marked with red tape still there like a slash straight across the palm. I had read that entry dozens of times in the past 24 hours, and each time it became clearer. My grandmother hadn't just left me an inheritance, she left me a strategy. A way to end it all, not through rage, but with the same cold, calculated intellect my mother once prided herself on. Don't cut her off, Aria, I whispered, as if speaking to my grandmother. Let her walk into the trap herself. I opened my laptop, logged into my personal email, and typed a sweet-sounding subject line. Something we need to talk about, please read carefully. The message was short. Mom, I know about everything. But I also know you did what you did to chase a better life. I understand that, truly. Grandma left me quite a lot. And I don't think it's fair to keep it all. I want to share a portion. If you truly want to start over, I'll send you a plane ticket to Seattle. We can talk there, really talk, one last time. Aria. I didn't hit send immediately. I needed to stage everything before casting the bait. 3 weeks later, I officially took ownership of the entire estate, including the villa on Bainbridge Island, which had been Grandma's favorite retirement spot, and the penthouse in downtown Seattle my mother had coveted for over 10 years. The penthouse was the perfect golden cage, luxurious, expensive, and full of things my mother would never be able to control. I hired Ryan, a security specialist and former military, to install hidden surveillance throughout the unit, from the safe to the jewelry cabinet, from the laptop to the landline phone. Everything was encrypted, but sprinkled with enticing breadcrumbs, fabricated account numbers, fake passwords, and forged financial agreements designed to lure her in. I also hired Amanda, my best friend from college, now an IT specialist, to set up full-room audio recording and a firewall to intercept any outgoing emails without pre-approval. Meanwhile, I asked Mr. Stephen Kane to accidentally let it slip to my mother's attorney that I was considering sharing a portion of the inheritance if there was goodwill. One subtle nudge was all it took. Sure enough, less than a week later, she replied with an email, titled, "Sweetheart, I miss you." I let out a cold laugh, lips pressed tight. It had begun. I booked a first-class ticket from Lisbon to Seattle and emailed it with a message. You should rest during the long flight. Seattle is beautiful this time of year. I've prepared a special room. You'll recognize it immediately. Her reply came not long after. You always know how to touch my heart. Thank you for this chance. I promise I won't disappoint you again. Won't disappoint me again? Last time she cleaned out my entire account. Before that, she convinced me to drop out of school to help her with business. The first time, when I was just 12, she used my writing prize money to pay off a credit card I never even knew existed. This time, she would get one last chance to reveal her true self under the gaze of every camera in the house. The morning she landed at SeaTac, I didn't go to the airport. I sent a private driver instead, along with a bouquet of white orchids. The flower, she once said, makes me feel elegant again. I stood in the penthouse living room when I heard the door open. She walked in, her blonde hair perfectly blown out, a cream cashmere coat draped over her shoulders, a Prada bag swinging from her arm. "Aria, darling," she exclaimed, like a bad stage actress. I kept my face neutral, extended my hand. "Welcome back, Mom. This apartment will be yours for the next few weeks, if everything goes well." Her eyes scanned the room, paused at the oil painting of Grandma on the wall, then quickly shifted to the safe in the corner. She couldn't hide the glint in her gaze. "This room is the master suite," I said. "Fully renovated, includes some of the jewelry you always loved from Grandma." Her eyes sparkled like a child promised a trip to Disneyland. You really want to share part of it with me? I nodded. But not right away. Spend a few days here, let's have dinner together. Let's see if you've truly changed, show me through actions, not words. 3 days later I got Amanda's report. She's opened the safe 5 times. Took photos of the forged documents on the computer. Sent 3 emails. All intercepted. Intent suggests she's trying to sell financial information. I shut my laptop, fists tightening. Every move was playing out exactly as I had planned, not one misstep. She believed she was on top of the world. But I knew. The trap had already snapped shut. The screen glowed before me in the dark of my private office, where only the sound of Amanda's typing echoed. She was operating the entire surveillance network from the security room beneath the penthouse. A place my mother had no idea existed. Every time she opened a drawer, tested a password or flipped through a page, every motion was recorded. Clear down to the smallest flicker of her eyes. I leaned on the desk, eyes fixed on screen number 3. The one showing the camera angle inside the master bedroom. The room she had once dreamed of. And now, it had become a glittering glass cage, trapping the true nature of that woman inside. She's opening the safe again, Amanda said softly, her mouth curling slightly, almost with contempt. I nodded, clenching both hands. The 8th time in less than 48 hours. Inside was a set of high-quality fake diamond jewelry, detailed enough to fool the average eye. Placed beside fabricated stock transfer agreements, stating figures up to $8.3 million, and the name of the firm my mother once desperately tried to join, a decade ago. She doesn't suspect anything? I asked, eyes still on the ceiling-mounted corner camera. Amanda shook her head. No, she thinks she's winning. She's already started sending document photos through anonymous emails, but everything's routed straight into my filter system. On screen, my mother pulled her phone from her purse and quickly snapped pictures of each page. Her face lit up with excitement. Just like the day I caught her lying to Grandma faking illness to squeeze out college tuition for Aria. Which I later discovered was spent paying off Vegas gambling debt. She already sent them using a VPN, Amanda added, but it didn't get past our firewall. I'm backing up everything to an external drive too. You have the data logs? Every second. Every photo. Every time she opened the safe. I took a deep breath. But the relief never came. What I truly felt was emptiness. Like standing at the edge of a skyscraper, knowing you could push someone off, but unsure if you'd feel any lighter after. For the next 3 days, I let everything unfold just as she hoped. Each morning she wore expensive dresses from the closet, all tagged with RFID sensors. Every time she removed jewelry from the case, Amanda received an alert. In the evening we dined together in the grand dining room. I cooked, and she talked animatedly, as if her 3 weeks in Europe had just been a lovely dream. She spoke of upcoming investment opportunities, and old friends eager to help her rejoin the financial world. I only smiled and nodded at the right moments, like admiring an oil painting I knew was fake. One night after dinner, she looked at me with that falsely glimmering gaze. Aria, I know you're still angry. But you let me stay here, eat with you, talk, share everything. That has to mean something, right? I replied, voice calm like wind brushing a glass window. It means I'm watching. Her eyes faltered for a split second, then she burst out in a light laugh. You've really grown up, I'm proud of you. Not because I'd succeeded, I thought, but because I had learned to control the game. Just like she once did. I wanted to say that out loud, but I didn't need a confession, I needed proof. And she was writing her own indictment with every move she made. Saturday morning, I called Amanda and Ryan upstairs to the study. On the desk was a printed list of every action recorded during the 8 days my mother had stayed in the penthouse. She tried accessing the fake bank account 4 times, Amanda reported. Attempted to send confidential files via email. Photographed all of the forged contracts we planted. Made at least 3 calls. one of them to Stephen Roswell, a shady broker previously investigated for tax evasion. "We have audio?" I ask. "Audio and video. Court admissible if needed." I nodded. What I felt wasn't anger anymore. It was clarity. Finally, there was no ambiguity. No more questions like, maybe she's changed? Or, could this be a misunderstanding? No. This was living proof of a behavior so deeply rooted, it could never be undone. I grabbed my phone, opened my contacts, and texted the one person who had known the plan from the beginning. Bryce. My mother's ex-boyfriend, whom she'd bankrupted through one of her trust me schemes. "I've got everything. The person, and the evidence. Are you ready?" He replied in less than a minute. "Say the word." I already called the journalist. They're standing by. I closed my phone, eyes locked on the camera feed one last time. My mother was seated at the vanity, holding the diamond necklace, smiling at herself in the mirror, like a queen reclaiming her crown. I whispered, "What you see is victory. What we see is a conviction." And I was ready to announce the verdict. Viridian Oak was where Seattle's financial elite gathered. Not loud, not too public, but discreet enough for million-dollar handshakes to be exchanged over filet mignon. It was also where my mother chose to host her strategic lunch, with 3 potential investors. Tempted by the very same fake contracts I had planted in the safe. I didn't need confirmation. Amanda had already sent me the audio from the night before. A call between my mother and Stephen Roswell, where she promised a minimum 25% return in 6 months, backed by Aria Morgan's inheritance. Hearing my name used as leverage in her scam made me both nauseated and cold to the core. "You sure about this?" Bryce asked from the driver's seat as we parked across the street from the restaurant. "This is the final step," I said, eyes fixed on the glass revolving door. "Where she would walk in like a queen and leave as a disgrace." She arrived exactly on time, as if her life were a pre-scripted production. Burgundy silk dress, crystal-studded heels, perfectly styled waves. I watched from the shadowed bar corner, beside Tina, a reporter I'd contacted in advance. She held up her phone, already recording, the audio streaming live to Amanda's laptop for backup. My mother sat at the table with 3 men. 2 small-time investors from Portland, and the third I recognized instantly as David Tran, director of a venture capital firm my mother had targeted 10 years ago, before he exposed her for financial document forgery. I exhaled sharply. She really hasn't learned anything. The first 5 minutes were full of introductions and flattery, wine poured. By minute 10, she began presenting the Blue Horizon Legacy Fund, a name I fabricated. Backed by inflated figures from fake financial assets, in a sandboxed database we had created. "Aria has been so generous," she purred. "She understands that money must circulate. And I'm the one to manage it. I've handled 5 multi-million-dollar projects before, and this time, I want to invite you into something truly special." I stepped away from the bar, clutching a USB drive containing clips of her secretly recorded activities at the penthouse. Bryce followed, Tina quietly behind with her camera. As I approached the table, she was pulling a stack of papers from her bag. Those fake equity transfer agreements. RU nu, with my name on them. "Perfect." "Mom," I spoke up. She jumped, as if she'd seen a ghost in broad daylight. "Aria, what are you doing here?" "Oh, well, maybe you should ask yourself that question," I replied, pulling out a USB and placing it on the table. "Or should I help you explain the documents you're handing out to everyone?" The investors began glancing at one another, clearly confused. David Tran raised his eyebrows, recognizing me immediately. "You're Aria Morgan, owner of the Blue Horizon hotel chain?" I nodded. "And I have not authorized Gloria Morgan with any financial rights. The documents she's presenting are completely fraudulent." My mother stood up, her voice shaking. You're misunderstanding. These were things we discussed at home. You thought I was still stupid," I cut in, coldly. You thought I'd drain my savings again to invest in the family's future like I did when I was 19. But this time, you picked the wrong role. I pulled out my phone and played a video. On the screen, surveillance footage from the bedroom showed my mother opening the safe, snapping pictures of the documents, making calls, sending emails. The audio rang clearly through the restaurant. I have all the documents. I'm in control. Aria trusts me blindly, she never checks. My mother's face went pale, she turned to David. I was set up. This is revenge, it's not real. David closed the folder bluntly. I've met you before, Miss Gloria. And I spent 6 months cleaning up the mess from your empty promises. I'm not making that mistake again. Thanks for reminding me why I walked away the first time. The other 2 investors stood up without a word. Tina clicked her camera, beginning to film openly. Would you like to say anything? She asked. My mother turned to me, her face as white as paper. Why, I'm your mother. I looked her straight in the eyes. No more fear, no more guilt. That's exactly why you thought you had the right to keep deceiving me. But you forgot something. I've grown up. And this time, I know exactly who I am. And who you are. I turned away from the table. Tina's camera flashed behind me, like the final blow to a collapsing performance. She didn't call after me. She just stood there. A figure that once loomed large in my memories, now fading like ashes in a quiet afternoon breeze. I waited for her in the private office on the top floor of the Blue Horizon, Seattle. Once her dream, now the place where I would end everything she ever manipulated. The room was eerily quiet. Outside, the city glittered at night. But inside, the air felt frozen. The door creaked open, my mother stepped in, her heels clicking lightly on the wood floor. But she no longer carried that usual pride. Her dress was wrinkled, her makeup couldn't hide the fatigue. Aria, she began, but I raised my hand to stop her. Sit down. I pointed to the chair across from the desk, where a thick file sat neatly. She sat carefully, like someone afraid to trigger a landmine. I looked straight into her eyes. Not with rage, not with hatred. Just the cold resolve forged from too many betrayals. You know what happened at the restaurant was rushed. I didn't think you would. She stammered. But I didn't let her finish. You thought I was still the foolish daughter willing to empty her account to invest with Mom? I spoke slowly, each word like a blade in the air. But now, you know I've changed. The question is, have you? She lowered her head. It was the first time I'd ever seen her silent for that long. I pushed the file toward her. This is what I've compiled. Copies of recordings, photos, surveillance footage, and a list of everyone you've contacted in the past 2 weeks. All backed up to 3 hard drives, one for my lawyer, one for the press, and one, just in case you accidentally disappear. Her face visibly paled. Aria, you can't do this. I'm still your mother. I tilted my head, cutting her off. Yes. And also, the first person who ever taught me that family doesn't always mean love. I pulled a thick envelope from the drawer and placed it beside the file. Inside is a one-way plane ticket to Bozeman, Montana, a 6-month lease for a modest apartment, and a small living stipend. Already transferred to a new account, not linked to me. You have 2 choices. I paused, locking eyes with her. Home? Walk away from all of this. Live a quiet life. No more scams, no more scripts. Accept the truth, and start over from zero. 2. Keep playing the victim, and I'll release everything to the media and the authorities. She looked at me, her lips trembling. You're threatening me? No. I'm giving you a final chance. One you've never given to any of the people you conned. I don't need you to love me. I need you to stop destroying everything I've tried to build. She pulled out the ticket from the envelope, hands shaking so badly she needed both of them to hold it. Bozeman? There's nothing there but snow and open fields. A new life, if you're brave enough to live it honestly. I don't know anyone there. I have nothing. Then you'll finally learn what it means to rebuild from scratch, just like I had to, every time you disappeared with my money. I stood up, pulled out my phone and opened my email app. You have 3 minutes. If you choose to go, I'll delete this message. If not, I'll hit send. Every reporter Tina flagged will get it. A copy will go to the city attorney's office. Silence. 1 minute. Then 2. She sat there, eyes hollow like she hadn't slept in days. Then suddenly she stood up. You're really going to throw me away like garbage? I looked at her, hollow inside. No. You threw yourself away. I'm just closing the lid. She quietly packed up the documents into her purse. No more excuses. No more blame. For the first time, I saw her accept defeat. When does the flight leave? She asked, eyes on the floor. 8:45 tonight. I've arranged a car to take you to the airport. She nodded, then walked to the door, her steps no longer hurried, no longer arrogant. As her hand touched the doorknob, she paused, without turning back. Arya, do you really think I can start over? If you truly want to, but I won't be standing by to see if you do. The door closed, slowly, silently. Bryce met me at our usual cafe in Westlake around midnight. Everything okay? I nodded. She chose Montana. And do you think she'll stick to it? I looked out the window, where Seattle still shimmered under the nightlights. I don't know. But I know one thing. If she goes back to her old ways, there won't be another choice next time. Bryce nodded, quietly sliding a hot coffee across the table. We sat together, without needing to say anything else. In my coat pocket, the USB holding all the evidence remained untouched, a reminder that the truth always holds weight. One fall morning, under a thin layer of Montana mist, I sat in a rental car parked 2 blocks from a small cafe called Pine Hollow. Through the foggy windshield, I saw my mother, Gloria Morgan, wiping down the counter, wearing a simple black uniform, her hair hanging straight behind her neck. No salon curls, no trace of the woman who once wrapped herself in silk and lies. She didn't know I had come, and this time, I wasn't here to expose her. I came to end a journey. I pushed open the door, as the wind chime above let out a soft jingle. The smell of roasted coffee and buttery pastries filled the quiet space. So peaceful it felt almost surreal, after everything that had happened. My mother was arranging sugar packets and straws behind the counter. When she heard the door, she turned, her eyes locking directly with mine. A flicker of shock crossed her face, then she exhaled softly, steadying herself. Arya. Mull black coffee, no sugar. I cut in. Not sharp, but firm enough. She nodded and awkwardly stepped behind the counter. I sat at the bar stool by the window, quietly opened my bag, and pulled out a faded velvet box. When she set the cup in front of me, I slid the box toward her. Open it. She hesitated, then slowly lifted the lid. Inside was Grandma Dolores's silver mirror. The one piece she never let anyone touch. The one my mother had tried to steal twice. It's the real one, I said. Not the one with the camera. Tears welled up in her eyes. You've kept it since Grandma passed? Yeah. But now, I think she'd want it back where it belongs. She gripped the box tightly, saying nothing. I pulled a slim folder from my coat and placed it on the counter next to the coffee. This is my only condition. Condition? She asked softly. I've created a fund, the Whitman Redemption Fund, to compensate the people you hurt. The ones you lied to, stole from, and left broken. I contribute 5% of Blue Horizon's monthly revenue. You will contribute 20% of your paycheck each month for at least 3 years. No skipping. No excuses. She looked at me, lips pressed into a line. Is it just about money? No. I looked directly at her. It's about responsibility. And your one chance to do what's right. Not to be forgiven, but to be forgotten. With dignity. A soft breeze tapped against the window. She nodded, like the years of running had finally surrendered. I've tried, Arya. Every day. Waking up at 5, cleaning bathrooms, wiping tables, hourly wages, no schemes. At first, I didn't think I could take it. But each dollar I earned felt clean. I nodded slightly, but didn't smile. No one asked you to live clean to be acknowledged. I just don't want to read about you in the news one day under a fake name and another fake deal. I won't. Her voice trembled. I've lost everything, Arya. And maybe that's the best thing that could have happened. When you have nothing left to hold on to, you finally see what's worth holding on to. I placed a small envelope on the counter. This is your first month's contribution form. All you need to do is sign. Amanda already sent a copy to the auditors. She picked up the pen, her hand still shaking. Signed. One simple name. Gloria Morgan. No embellishments. No aliases. Thank you, she said, eyes still avoiding mine, for giving me this chance, even though I don't deserve it. I stood up, lifting the coffee. Not because you deserve it, because enduring action. Even if the past can't be changed, she chose her future. A future no longer ruled by old pain. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't making someone fall, it's living strong without needing them. What do you think about Arya's choice? Did she do the right thing by giving her mother a second chance? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family and life.